Released by Sony in the year 1999 on the original PlayStation, The Legend of Dragoon was Sony's 3-year attempt to develop a high-budget RPG adventure. Written and directed by Yasuyuki Hasebe, the game oddly sold 3 times as well in the United States compared to in Japan. For combat, the game utilizes standard turn-based mechanics, with most notably options for offense that include precise timing prompts to execute combo attacks and repel enemy counters, or mashing buttons for maximizing damage. The game features 3D models against pre-rendered 2D backgrounds for the overworld, but in battle and in many cutscenes uses in-engine 3D models and a large variety of animations and effects for the characters, as well as enemies, including the party shouting the names of their respective attacks. For story, the game features a protagonist Dart at almost all times, and he is typically accompanied by the other main 7 teammates along the story, though only 3 are ever fielded in combat at a time. The story only gets larger from here, so let's cut it down to size with a recapitation. The game begins in the Land of Endiness, with the village of Celeste being demolished by an Imperial army, as a large knight inspects a woman with a glowing gem and another hooded man who insists they take her with them. With this, they leave the village in ruins, and elsewhere, a woman looks on about a forest, spotting the green-tusked dragon Fairbrand, and jumps down after it. We then see a man named Dart read a letter with rumors of war looming, but hears some soldiers ride by and checks him out. A couple stop to question him, and Dart draws his sword in defiance, but Fairbrand crashes in and now begins chasing Dart. The woman from before leaps in to save him and explains Fairbrand is a real dragon, and mentions the ruin that has befallen Celeste. Dart is from Celeste and runs towards his home, and the woman notes in disbelief a gem of hers that glows in response to Dart. Dart arrives in time to save an old man from being killed by occupying soldiers from the Empire of Sandora, and he urges Dart to rescue a kidnapped Shauna before succumbing to his wounds. Dart learns Shauna was the exact reason the Empire seized the peaceful village, and after defeating an enemy officer, he learns Shauna is being held in Hellena prison, and so makes that his next destination. Sneaking about a supply cart to infiltrate, Dart explores the prison, though elsewhere, a knight of Basil, Lavitz, is also causing a prison break in order to free his fellow knights imprisoned in the war. Despite a mistaken clash, Dart and Lavitz find a common enemy in Sandora and team up to survive their fight ahead. Lavitz wants to return to his kingdom as soon as possible, but sympathizes with Dart and agrees to help him rescue Shauna, and then all 3 of them can escape. Finding a key and locating her cell, Dart frees Shauna, and the 2 childhood friends reunite after having not seen each other for almost 5 years. Picking up a bow, Shauna is skilled in archery and is determined to fight alongside Dart as they defeat the prison warden and escape pursuers en route back to Celeste. As they rest and patch up Lavitz's wounds from battle, Shauna asks Dart where he's been these past 5 years, and Dart only reveals he's been on a journey of revenge, hunting a specific man in order to kill him, but didn't want to tell her at the time. She knows he's talking about the black monster that attacked his original home village and killed almost everyone, including his parents. Dart also shows them the only memento he still has of his father, a shining gem, but also admits he hasn't resolved the black monster issue yet. He asks Lavitz of the state of the world, and Lavitz explains his kingdom of Basil is at war with the Imperial Sandora. Recently, the Emperor Doel somehow gained a dragon, and this has tipped the balance of power towards Sandora, and now they've been getting more aggressive. He says he intends to return to Indel's castle and report to King Albert there, but suggests Dart join him, as the kingdom is long-standing and may have records of the black monster he seeks. Dart agrees, and the group now follows Lavitz. Passing through a cave, they defeat a giant snake, but it retaliates when near dead and nearly strikes Shauna. However, a bright light bursts out of Shauna, completely destroying the monster and shocking Dart and Lavitz, though even Shauna can't explain what happened. Making the journey to King Albert, the king is relieved to find his friend Lavitz alive and well, and gives thanks to Dart and Shauna. Dart asks the court minister about the black monster, and the minister shares the monster is also called the devil that disobeyed the great existence, devoured God, and has been spotted at least 11,000 years ago when the Dragon Campaign ended. The Dragon Campaign was the uprising of enslaved humans against their winged overlords, the Winglies. 7 champions called Dragoons under the leadership of Emperor Diaz used the power of dragons to fight and win against the Winglies, ushering in the new age of humans. Currently, the kingdom is holding the Imperial battle line at the town of Hoax and prepares to move for another battle despite the threat of a dragon annihilating everyone. Dart feels inspired by Lavitz and the kingdom and pledges to fight alongside them to prevent what happened at Celeste from happening again, while Shauna decides to stay by Dart's side. Arriving at Hoax, they arrive just in time for the enemy's night raid and clash against the last of the Gigantos clan, a large-sized and powerful warrior named Kongol. As they fight a losing duel against Kongol, he's about to strike down Dart, but suddenly the warrior woman from before swoops in to save Dart and urges him to wake up as the Red Dragoon. A light now glows from Dart's memento, and rising up, he smashes into Kongol as a fiery streak, revealing his new Dragoon form. Enemy forces pull away from Dart, and the woman explains Dart is now a Knight of the Dragon, a Dragoon, as Dart collapses from exhaustion. The knights survive. The woman introduces herself as Rose. She explains she's been following him when she noticed her gem glow the same as his, which proves his sovereignty to possess the dragoon's spirit. Once it shines for you, you have no choice but to become a dragoon, though if he were unable to awaken the power, he likely would have died just then. Rose then admits their group kind of reminds her of her own befallen friends. They are interrupted by word that Fairbrand has resurfaced and is attacking another of their forts. Currently, the knights are gathering forces to make a suicide run towards the dragon, but Dart volunteers to use the power of a dragoon to confront Fairbrand. Rose agrees to accompany the group as the Black Dragoon, though it still won't be easy. Along the way there, they encounter a relic of the Old War the Winglies used to trump the dragons that the humans used against them, called a Virage. Defeating the ancient weapon of hatred, they move on, now entering the woods where Fairbrand's nest is, now contaminated with its poison, and Shauna stumbles about weakly. Within, Lavitz is shocked to find the leader of the Second Order of the Knighthood, who had also betrayed and killed Lavitz's father. As it turns out, he's also the Green Dragoon and the one guiding Fairbrand's actions, claiming he got this power from Emperor Doel, who got it from Emperor Diaz. Rose is in disbelief, as Diaz died 11,000 years ago, but both sides clash and the group manages to outfight and destroy both the Green Dragoon and his Wind Dragon. As he dies, he confesses he was jealous of Lavitz's father's power, and thus betrayed him to seek a greater power from Emperor Doel. He crumbles away, but his Dragoon spirit lingers, and suddenly resonates with Lavitz. Rose cannot believe this is a coincidence and affirms he must accept the Dragoon spirit of the Jade Dragon. Doing so, Lavitz swears to now use his power for justice and now urges them to travel to the nearby town of Lohan, as Shauna now appears quite ill from the poison earlier. Unfortunately, the town healers explain Shauna's body is fine, but it's her mind that's been poisoned, and she'll likely die within the week unless they can somehow obtain the legendary Dragoni plant to save her. Learning where some grows, they are led to a shrine where Rose notes there is a Dragoon spirit nearby, and within, Rose is familiar with the spirit named Shirley. Shirley explains that while there is no more Dragoni plant, a dragon's poison can be lifted with her White Silver Dragon's healing magic and spirit. She quizzes each of them, and satisfied, she bestows upon them her Dragoon spirit. Returning to Shauna, they are surprised to see the White Silver Dragon spirit resonate naturally with Shauna, and accepting it, Shauna is completely cured, and the newest Dragoon on the team. The doctor then mentions Dart may want to test his might at the local arena where there will soon be a fighting tournament. Dart enrolls and runs into his old traveling companion, an elderly martial artist named Hashel, but as they both progress, Hashel loses to a powerful swordsman named Lloyd. Dart is also clearly outmatched by Lloyd's skill and speed and suffers a total loss. After the tournament, Dart introduces Hashel to the group and they enjoy the rest of the festival, though Lavitz tries to play Cupid and help Shauna in her effort to have Dart see her as a woman and not as a sisterly friend. When they're about to leave and report back to King Albert, a wounded soldier limps in with the message that Sandora launched a sneak attack and now has King Albert prisoner in Hellena prison. The royal city is occupied, so no knights can deploy, so it's up to Dart and group to save the king themselves, and Hashel joins the group in this endeavor. Lavitz leads the storming of the prison head-on like last time, as they confront and defeat the prison warden, but are too late as the hood man from earlier reaches inside the king and pulls out a crystal called the Moon Gem. Lavitz transforms into a dragoon and rushes the hood man, who sees through the charge, pulls out an epically powerful weapon and impales Lavitz upon it. The hooded man is revealed to be Lloyd from the tournament, and he escapes with the Moon Gem in hand. Defeated, Dart comforts his dying friend, and as the noble knight dies, his dragoon spirit leaves and chooses the nearby King Albert. Escaping back to Celeste, Albert thanks them all and honors his friend Lavitz, and Rose explains Lloyd wielded a legendary sword from the Old War called a Dragon Buster, made specifically to neutralize and kill dragons. Albert then explains what Lloyd took from him, which is one of the scattered relics of the Winglies from the Dragon campaign, which contains sealed magic kept away to prevent misuse. The Moon Gem also technically commanded sovereignty in Serdio, so Albert is without castle or title now, but swears to take the fight personally to Emperor Doel in his Black Castle. Infiltrating the castle, they witness some magic technology being developed within, and are shocked to run into the great commander of Sandora, the same armored knight who led the assault on Celeste to kidnap Shauna. He actually chooses to talk instead of fight, revealing he would not stop them if they wanted to kill him, but urged them to do something about Emperor Doel, who changed suddenly after Lloyd came to their kingdom. He begs them to wake Doel up from the sorcery twisting him, else the war will drag on and more will suffer. He hands them the key to Emperor Doel's chamber, but on their way there they run into the giant Kongol again, now armored and ready for a rematch. The group edges out a win against the brute force of Kongol, shattering his armor and warrior pride, and Kongol falls to his knees requesting an honorable death. Rose is fine in doing so, but is stopped by Dart and Shauna, who opt to show mercy to Kongol and encourage him to live. Now entering the throne room of Emperor Doel, who turns out to be King Albert's uncle, who split the kingdom and started this war by killing Albert's father, the former king, Doel himself mentions Emperor Diaz is alive and well, and is using Lloyd as a pawn, as when he destroyed Celeste to seek Shauna. As they clash, it turns out the Emperor is also the wielder of the Violet Dragon Spirit, and unleashes his Dragoon power, but it's not enough against a team of them, as he falls in battle. Dying, he regains his senses but doesn't apologize, and instead tells him to seek Lloyd in Tiburoa, as the whole situation is a lot larger than they know. As the Usurper King dies on his feet, his Violet Dragon Spirit leaves and actually chooses Haschel as its next wielder. Looking forward, Dart swears to get answers for Shauna's abduction and chase Lloyd. Shauna will stay by his side. Albert must reclaim the Moon Gem and save his kingdom, and Rose agrees to keep an eye on them all as Haschel now finds himself accepting his new fate as Dragoon and joins the team. Traveling to the kingdom of Tiburoa, the group just misses Lloyd in the capital city of Fletz, and Dart notices a bridge named Claire Bridge, remarking that Claire was the name of his mother, and Haschel also remarks Claire is also the name of his missing daughter coincidentally. They look on as Princess Emile of the kingdom makes her way through the streets, displaying not only her beauty but also rudeness and inconsiderate attitude to her people, especially ignoring the prevalent problem of bandits. In town, they also hear a clue to Lloyd as well as possible clue to the black monster Dart is chasing, involving an astronomer in town. Seeking him out, he explains he is studying an unnatural phenomenon called the moon that never sets, named so because it's a moon that quite literally never moves. Legend goes that once every 108 years, the moon will glow red and the moon child will be born to fill the world with bliss, but instead what they got was fire destruction brought by the black monster. Finding no more leads, they move on to the next town in Tiburoa but are ambushed by local bandits, who succeed in swiping Dart's Dragon Spirit Gem and escaping without a trace. Continuing on to the next town to seek clues about the bandit gang, they once again just miss Lloyd, but instead encounter the energetic young dancer Meru, who is surprisingly capable of combat and agrees to help them find and defeat the bandits. On the way back, they hear from Princess Lisa that Princess Emile was once kind-hearted, but something happened between the bandit gang and the princess that turned her into a completely different and foul person. They also hear Emile is set to soon receive the Moon Dagger, the second ancient relic, on her 20th birthday soon. The turf of the gang of bandits is an old battlefield warped by the intense collisions of magic of the old war and the intact barrage within. As it's defeated, Shauna's mysterious power again somehow comes out again to send it tumbling away. Entering the hideout of the bandits, who have settled in the former village of the Gigantos, Haschel notes they fight a lot like his own school's teachings somehow. Breaking down the gates of the hideout, Haschel finds the leader of the bandits is his old failed pupil, and together they confront him and the thief who stole Dart's gem. Defeating both of them, their fight has disturbed the ruins, and when a large pillar is about to fall onto the group, Kongal dashes in to save them at the last second, catching the massive stone and hurling it away. He explains that he followed Emperor Doel because he was a strong leader who aimed to bring equality between races, but Dart defeated the Emperor, and now Kongal wants to follow him and see where this greater strength will lead to. As he dies, the bandit leader also reveals the Princess Emile is indeed a doppelganger, and the real one is hidden in the castle. Finding his red dragon spirit again, the team is powered up with Dart, Meru, who decides she's having fun with the group and joins, and now Kongal as they return to Fletz Castle. Along the way, they run into an overly helpful street merchant who happens to sell them a golden dragoon spirit gem that seems to resonate with Kongal. Finding the real Princess Emile and confronting the fake, they fight the female bandit Linus, who steals the Moon Dagger and manages to fly away, as it turns out she is a surviving wingly. They note the port she flew to, and the king orders a pursuit of the ship she had there. Dart and crew join the pursuit, and as they spend their sea voyage in reflection of their past and future goals, their steel ship is approached suddenly by a phantom ship that crashes into them. When their ship is being repaired, Shauna is somehow compelled to learn more of the ship and urges them to investigate. The ship is full of spirits, many hostile, but some are of the ghosts of knights that confuse Shauna for a princess named Luvia. The ghost ship soon begins to sink and the party rushes back, but Rose and Dart are the last ones off, barely leaping off in time. Dart misses his jump and Rose grabs him on a limb and swears she won't drop anyone else again. However, they both fall over and are swept away. As they are washed ashore, Dart is still unconscious, and Rose notes he reminds her of her former lover Zieg, and she thinks back on how she had to let him go alongside all her other friends, who got brutally killed in the last Dragon campaign. Making it back to the team, they are relieved to see the two of them safely back, though the group had faith they weren't lost, and note Rose has softened a bit from her usual coldness. Shauna and Dart share a heartfelt reunion, and the party soon resumes their chase of Linus. They are too late as Linus hands over the dagger to Lloyd, and he taunts them all on his next target as he gets away yet again. Linus holds them all off on her own by revealing she also wields the Blue Sea Dragon Spirit, and with her own dragon she fights them all. They overwhelm and kill her, but she is still satisfied with having lovingly served Lloyd, and her dragon spirit is surprisingly quick to choose Meru as its next wielder. With Lloyd now in possession of 2 of the 3 moon relics and confident he will gain the 3rd, the race is on to the final relic. They return to the Kingdom of Fletz for now with news of their failure to reclaim the dagger, but their victories over the Bandit gang and the menacing sea dragon are merit enough to win the approval of the kingdom. Taking a break before they begin their next journey after Lloyd, romance blooms between Albert and the proper Princess Emile, and Dart begins to realize his own feelings for Shauna as he confesses his love and they share a kiss under the starry sky. As the group crosses the sea en route to Mille Sasso, they note it's awfully suspicious that Lloyd deliberately told them his next location and target. While staying in a port town, Haschel overhears Shauna sing a lullaby she learned from Dart, who learned it from his mother that Haschel knows is a tune his missing daughter used to sing all the time. After leaving and passing through a forest, Rose suddenly declares urgent business elsewhere and temporarily leaves the group, as does Meru, who says she wants to visit her parents. The rest of the group continues on to the town of Denengrad, where they learn the divine tree and how it is said to be the source of all life, gifted by the god Soa. When the tree grew, it bore 108 fruits, each bearing the progenitor of a unique species, and is said to be protected and hidden to this day. They also hear that every 108 years, the moon that never sleeps sends its herald, the Moonchild, to purify the world, but the Black Monster will hunt and kill them in an endless cycle. As the group waits in the city for Meru and Rose, Dart learns of another survivor from the destruction of his home village Neat, Sister Luana, but meanwhile Rose is actually visiting Neat and encounters Luana. Luana reveals that 18 years ago when the Black Monster came, it was looking for Princess Luvia, and explains the Moonchild prepares everyone to be a servant to God and prepare for God's descent. It also explained its mission was to kill everyone present for the Moonchild's birth. Elsewhere, it turns out Meru is actually a Wingly who broke her society's taboo and left their village to see the world, but finds she is unwelcome back by her people. She urges them to let go of their ancient hate of the humans, but makes no progress. Her fiancé takes her aside and explains everyone is tense because there are omens that the King of Dragons, the Divine Dragon, is about to awaken, and the Dragon Buster sword was stolen so they don't have an answer. But he also mentions he still loves her even though their people don't. Back with the group, they wait for Rose and Meru, and Rose arrives with Luana, who learns Dart is also from the Neat tragedy. They don't have time to talk much as the Divine Dragon indeed awakens and now flies above Denengrad, and Meru arrives explaining it's preparing to bring terror and disaster to the world. They are brought before the Queen of Mille Sasso, reveal they are dragoons, and are tasked with handling the Divine Dragon. Rose suggests getting the other weapon meant to oppose the dragons, the Dragon Block Staff, from the forest of the Winglies, as both she and Meru confirm Winglies still live in hiding nearby. First Sacred Sister Miranda is determined to help them fight and joins them, and Shauna feels drawn to a nearby room that Winglies once used for sealing things. However, the White Silver Dragon Spirit leaves Shauna and passes suddenly to Miranda, and Shauna is disheartened she can no longer keep up with the group. Leaving Shauna behind in the castle, the group travels to the forest of the Winglies, where Meru reveals she is a Wingly herself and lets them into the village. Tensions flare up immediately, but the leader of the village agrees to meet up with the group as it's obvious the only way to beat the Divine Dragon is for all races to work together. They agree to unite against this foe and he allows them to use a Dragon Block Staff. They find another Virage near where the staff rests, which makes them think the Virages are reacting to them, and not just Shauna. Acquiring the staff, they hurry back to Denengrad, where the Divine Dragon has already destroyed the Queen's palace, though fortunately Shauna was able to shield herself and the Queen from harm with her mysterious power, but it left her completely drained. Moving on to the Mountain of the Mortal Dragon, they are surprised to actually run into Lloyd, who is barely fending off the dragon by himself, who claims it's almost dead thanks to his Dragon Buster, and pulls away as the group dashes in to finish it off. They open with using the Dragon Block Staff against it to cut its power down to manageable levels, but after a large struggle, once the Divine Dragon falls, Lloyd comes in and steals the Dragon Spirit from within it. The spirit doesn't initially resonate with him, and he expected that to be the case, as all he really wanted was the Divine Dragon out of the way as he continued his own plan to destroy the world. They chase him down the mountain, and Lloyd's use of magic betrays the fact that he is also a Wingly. He blasts Dart and Rose off an edge and gets away while the group is distracted, but Albert reminds them they know he will still be going after the 3rd moon relic. Miranda reveals that would be the moon mirror in the Queen's protection, so they hurry back to her, but are too late and learn that the Queen was abducted by Lloyd. They hurry to the tower where the actual relic is locked away, but are again too late, as Lloyd has the moon mirror in his possession. He slips that Emperor Diaz's plan is to create a utopia alongside the final 108th race from the Divine Tree, which is the last fruit to fall. They clash and the group barely edges out a win. As Lloyd and Dart prepare their final exchange, they're interrupted by his sister, who breaks them up and not only reveals that Emperor Diaz kidnapped Shauna, but also demanded Dart and the relics be brought to Velweb. Knowing Dart will comply, knowing his mission is over, Lloyd surrenders and requests an honorable death. However, Dart refuses, stating that killing Lloyd won't bring anyone back, so for now, Lloyd just simply accompanies the party. Lloyd reveals that Emperor Diaz told him that the current species are getting weaker because of the lazy peace they've enjoyed for so long. However, the final 108th race will be a god that will regenerate the world, and his goal is to create a utopia alongside that. They believe that the last species is also the Moonchild spoken of in legend, and want to help it bring bliss to the world. Rose strongly disagrees, and Dart asks what role the moon relics served. Lloyd explains that the Winglies were the 107th race and are very proud of their power and status, and thus sealed away the 108th species for fear of losing all that. In fact, the moon relics are Wingly made, and are the only things that can undo the seal. Arriving at Velweb, the ghost of Shirley now appears before them again, explaining that before she can pass on, she wants to help free the souls of the 4 dragoons who lost their life in the Dragon campaign who still linger. Stepping forward to confront Emperor Diaz, he levitates Shauna just above Dart's reach and exchanges her for the 3 moon relics. Diaz now moves forward with his plan to revive the last species, the true Virage, and let it destroy the world so he can build a utopia for the future in the remains. Lloyd now objects, saying he was deceived, believing the utopia was supposed to be for this world, not some future one, but he is easily tossed aside by Diaz, who stands up ready to reveal himself. He addresses both Rose and Dart and shocks them, as Emperor Diaz was just a disguise, and this man is actually Zieg, Dart's father, whom he thought dead, and the same Zieg that was Rose's fiancé, whom she thought died in the Dragon campaign. He begins explaining by recapping how every species came from Soa's Tree of Life, like the 97th race Gigantos, the 105th race Dragons, the 106th race Humans, and the 107th race Winglies. The 108th was to be the Virage Embryo, the god of destruction, who would destroy the world and then regenerate it. The Winglies found out their doomed fate 11,000 years ago and sealed the god by separating its body and soul with their strong magic. Its body was taken away as the moon that never sleeps, and its soul was separated into a powerful crystal that the leader of the Winglies used to wage war. When the humans rebelled with the power of the dragons, Zieg exchanged fatal blows against the Wingly leader and was petrified in the process. Millennia passed and eventually the magic wore off, and with it his past and former love with Rose. In the modern age, he instead raised a family and became the father of Dart, until the destruction of Neat. He then explains humans destroyed the crystal housing the soul of the god of destruction, and now the soul was free to return to its body in the moon and be born. However, it needed to possess a human body in order to make the trip, and so that is the Moonchild of legend. So, the Moonchild is actually the soul of the god of destruction possessing someone so it can go to the moon, be born with its true body, and then destroy the world. However, the reason this has not happened yet for these past millennia is because the one dragoon that survived the war found out about the truth of the Moonchild being the god of destruction, and in order to save the world has killed every Moonchild so far, figured out immortality, and has earned the name the Black Monster, who turns out to be Rose. Dart is shocked, and Rose openly admits it, explaining she had to do it to save the world, and kill everyone present for the birth of every Moonchild because they end up becoming thralls to the god of destruction. 107 times she succeeded in stopping every Moonchild, but this 108th time she made a mistake, as she thought Princess Luvia was the Moonchild, but instead Shauna was Luvia's twin sister, and is actually the Moonchild. Rose then quickly moves to kill Shauna as Dart refuses to, but Shauna's power repels her as Zieg teleports them both away. Rose feels she should continue this burden of fate alone, but the others, even Dart, believe they need to continue on and save the world somehow. Rose then reveals that she's been alive since the Dragon campaign thanks to the immortal magic and the magic choker she wears, that also allows her to see a hidden Wingly town in the desert, the city of Ulara. Rose is long friends with the leader here, who actually is the older sibling to the leader of the Winglies during the Dragon campaign, Melbu. She explains she thinks it's odd that Zieg knows as much as he does about the Moonchild and the way to break the seals with the Wingly relics, but explains the locations of the 3 seals he needs to break are in the magical city of Aglis, the lost cities at Abatos, and the death city Maythil. That night, Dart is forgiving and considers his revenge trip against the Black Monster over, and now chooses to travel with his companion Rose. Traveling first to the Magic City, they note they are being watched and invited in, as it turns out a wingly named Savant has been watching Rose these past 11,000 years, studying magic and is also immortal, but inspired by her to fight for life. She's been preparing an attack spell called the Psychedelic Bomb to deal with Zieg, and a strong seal called Moot for the moon. The bomb is powered by willpower and courage, and so they each undergo a trial of the heart to fuel the bomb with their courage. With the magic completed, he hands it to the party and shows them the seal within the city. However, the guardian beast of the seal suddenly turns on them as Zieg reveals himself and his ability to somehow wield magic. Dark questions why Zieg wants to end the world, and Zieg questions why they fight so hard against the will of the god who created them. They clash with the beast, but their fight triggers a runaway reaction with the sealing magic and the Signet Sphere itself, so Savant teleports them all to safety as the core of the city and its Signet Sphere self-destruct. Finding a warp to the lost cities at Abatos, they find it inhabited only by automated law-enforcing golems. Reworking the laws in their favor, they hurry to the Signet Sphere, but are too late yet again, as Zieg somehow flew here and thwarted them already. Now racing him to Mayfield, the city of the dead, they find this is the place where souls that could not completely die reside. In fact, they run into the ghost of their fallen friend Lavitz, but some sort of devil has taken control of his spirit. Defeating this devil, they help their friend out one last time rest in peace, who in turn helps them by leading them directly to the Signet Sphere. They also take the time to put to rest the lingering souls of the Jade, Blue, Gold, and Violet Dragoons, as well as some phantoms from the Old Dragon campaign, and muster their strength to move forward against Zieg. Dart rushes Zieg, but is pushed back easily as Zieg crushes the last of the seals and hurries away. The end now seems nigh, but Dart points out that as long as they stop Shauna from going to the moon, it's not over yet. The moon now descends, crashing down to rest atop a revealed but decayed tree of life. As the group flies in on a magical mount from Savant, an army of Virages emerge from the embryo and shoot down their ride. Managing to still climb and enter the moon, reality's warping around them, reflecting the turmoil in many of their own hearts, forcing them each to face the pain of their past made manifest. Entering the core of the moon, they see Shauna and approach her, only to be cut off by Zieg, who snatches the Red Dragon Spirit from Dart and is surprisingly still recognized by it. They fight, but Zieg manages to stall them long enough for the final step of the rebirth, when the body of the moon is ready to accept the soul of Shauna. Now shedding his body, the ghost of Melbu, the dictator of the Winglies that spurred the Dragon Campaign war and thought dead by the hands of Zieg himself, now emerges. He explains that Zieg did kill his mortal body, but he used the Wingly magic of separating body and spirit on himself and hid his spirit inside of petrified Zieg's dragon spirit. When Zieg tried to confront the black monster in Neat, he activated his dragon spirit for the first time since, and that was when Melbu was able to possess Zieg. Hence how Zieg can now apparently use magic and new things only Melbu can know. Now, Melbu swaps himself and Shauna during the moment the moon accepts its soul back and merges with the body of the God of Destruction, revealing his true aim of becoming the God of Destruction himself. Lloyd now jumps in, disgusted at Melbu, and uses the Divine Dragon Spirit and Dragon Buster to confront him, but he is outmatched and is crushed by Melbu. Dying, he passes along the Divine Dragon Spirit to Dart, as well as the Dragon Buster, and together with his band of new Dragoons, the 7 warriors stand firm against the new God of Destruction and his multi-generational forms of deific power. As the game ends, the power of the unified races are able to fight for their right to live, and Dart shields awaking Shauna from danger. Rose reunites with Zieg, who has returned to his senses, and Melbu is persistent in creating yet another powerful form. Zieg and Rose ram into Melbu, sacrificing themselves in one last strike together to finish Melbu off once and for all, changing the fate of the world and ending not only the God of Destruction, but also the moon and the army of Virages outside. Rose and Zieg are reunited in love and death as they pass their world to the current generation, allowing the remaining Dragoons to escape the ensuing explosion of the moon. Their mission complete, they go their separate ways, with Hashel returning to his village and resuming teaching new disciples, including Kongol, after learning the truth that Dart is actually his grandson from his daughter Claire. Miranda returns to her duties as sister in Mil Sasso, Meru returns to her fiancé and lives among the humans, and Albert returns to being king and wedding the Princess Emile. Finally, Dart and Shauna return to Celeste to begin their new life together as they look to build back up their village and their future. The Legend of Dragoon has enjoyed the success of selling over 1.2 million copies worldwide.